Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lizzie if you're watching me for the first time. So this is the brow carving tutorial that I did on my client, and today I'm going to show you all how I was able to achieve this. So this is a step-by-step tutorial on how you can easily carve a full brow. Emphasis on the full brow. Now, the common mistakes that people make is that when carving brow, they go in too much with the object that they use in carving the brow. Now, when you go in too much with whatever object you're having for your first brow, it will be difficult for you to carve the same way that you have done on the second brow. Now, this is a step-by-step tutorial, and I'm going to show you guys how you can easily achieve that beautifully carved brow. Now, the first thing you want to do is to arrange your brow with a spoolie or any brush that you have. And then the second thing you have to do is to pick up your razor and carve the lower part of the brow into a frame. Now you need to make sure that the brow has its own shape. So have a clean, clear cut underneath the brow with your razor, and then you repeat the same thing for the upper part of the brow. Make sure that you are actually carving from top to bottom to have a clean cut like this. Now, until you are good, until you've gotten the shape of what you want, then you can go ahead and start cutting out the excess. So I went in with my spoolie brush again to know if the shape I have gotten is right, but it wasn't, so I had to carve again, and this was the shape that I had. So I used my spoolie brush to brush down the hairs, like to brush the hairs downwards. So at this point, whatever hair falls beneath the carved line, that's the frame that you have gotten, you have to carve it out. Again, pick up your spoolie and brush the hairs upwards. Now, whatever hair falls above the frame that you have gotten for the top of the brow, you just take your time and cut it off. Now, I always emphasize in most of my videos that you need to make sure that you are using a new razor in achieving this. Number one, if you're not using a new razor, you might end up transmitting one blood disease or the other. Then the second part is, if you're not using a new razor, the razor will definitely be blunt and it will be hard to achieve a clean, clear cut. You want it really clean and really nice. So at this point, I was actually trying to shape the brow to make sure it's very, very good. So all you have to do is you need to keep looking at the brow and then adjusting it to ensure that it's actually what it should be. Now, the brow has its own shape. It has the beginning, it has an arc and an end. So it needs to follow that shape. It needs to have a beginning, an arc, and an end. Now, the common misconception that people have and people overlook when it comes to carving brows is that they tend to carve the first brow and then just do whatever they want with the second brow. Meanwhile, whatever you have done on the first brow has to look similar with what you're going to do on the second brow. And that is why each time I'm trying to carve a brow, I try as much as possible to stand at the middle of to stand in front, directly in front of my client or my model. So when I'm standing in front, I stand at the middle of my client where the nose is. And then I try as much as possible to carve the first brow, and then once that is done, I go ahead to carve the second brow. And while carving the first brow, I keep on moving backwards to check if the second brow actually looks like the first brow. I mean, it will be really, really disappointing if a client comes to you to carve his or her brow, because definitely some males do carve their brows. So if they come to carve their brows and you don't do it well, it will be really, really disappointing. So you need to be a professional at this, and this doesn't just take 5 minutes. It takes way more than that, because you are trying to make everything look similar and nice. So I basically went ahead to repeat the same process on my second brow, and all I did was basically repeating what I had done on the first brow. Just that this one was quite tactical because I needed to be as careful as possible. So I was just there arranging everything to make sure that it looks like the first brow. So what I did was, the first thing is you put your brow in a frame after brushing your hairs with spoolie to make sure that it actually looks good. You put your brow, the lower part of the brow, in a frame, and then you put the upper part of the brow in the frame as well. And then you brush the hairs downwards or upwards, whichever one works for you, but I prefer downwards first. You brush it downwards, and any hair that falls below the frame that you have done, you carve it out. And then you go ahead to brush the hairs upwards again, and then any hair that falls above the carved line, which is the frame that you have done, you cut it off. Now you keep on looking at the first and the second brow to ensure that the arcs are actually similar, the lower arc and then the upper arc. So that was basically what I was doing at this point. And even the beginning, like the dimension has to be the same. They may not actually look like twins, but let them look like sisters. Now, as you can see on this brow, the tail end of the brow is a bit longer than the first brow. So all I did was to go ahead and adjust the second brow by reducing the end of the brow. I had to reduce it so that it could look like the first brow. So I don't know if you've carved brows before and if you've had issues whatsoever, but if you've had issues, I would actually love to hear you out and then address some common mistakes that you make or you have made in the past when carving the brow of your clients. I would love to hear your stories and tell you what you should have done better. So at this point, I was just adjusting to ensure that everything looks good and everything looks nice. So if one brow is small, you need to make sure that the second brow is small as well, following the same shape. If the other brow is big, you need to ensure that the second one is big as well. Now, will you be following these steps that I've shown you? If you will, I would actually love to get a feedback from you if this particular video was helpful or not, and if this one is not as detailed as you think it should be. I have a whole lot of brow carving tutorials on my channel, and I'm going to link it right up on this one. So if you've watched this video to this extent, I do believe that you enjoyed this particular video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, like and share, and do not forget to turn on your notification button so that each time I post you get a notification and you'll be the first to know. So I remain your girl Lizzie, and I will see you all in my next video, guys. I love you all so much. Bye.